All right, so get this. We're diving deep into the story of Abdelmajid Dolmy, a Moroccan football legend. Now, they called him the Maestro. And you might be thinking, why the Maestro? Well, the source material that we're using to explore his career is a podcast script. It really celebrates Dolmy's entire career. But it especially zooms in on his performance during the 1986 World Cup. And let me tell you, his impact goes way beyond just scoring goals.
Yeah, and what's really captivating about Dolmy is how his style kind of redefined what it meant to be a midfielder, especially in that era. And his influence on the game, it went way beyond just the 86 World Cup. It really shaped Moroccan football for years to come.
So picture this, all right, 1986 World Cup in Mexico. Morocco was making history. They became the first African team to ever reach the knockout stages of the World Cup. And right there in the thick of it is Dolmy, just orchestrating the entire midfield. The script mentions that he had like an insane 88% pass completion rate during the entire tournament. I mean, that's not just someone kicking the ball around, is it?
No, not at all. I think what's so striking about Dolmy's passing, it wasn't just about hitting the target. It was about creating something with literally every single touch. He would just dismantle defenses with his passing, create all these scoring chances, and just control the pace of the entire game. It's like every single pass was a calculated move, almost like a chess player, thinking, 3 or 4 steps ahead.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm looking at the description here of his performance against Portugal, a game that Morocco won. And the source material points out this one specific pass that Dolmy made, which just split the defense wide open, and it led to Morocco's winning goal. They described it as like a surgical pass, like he could see the entire field in slow motion.
Yeah, I mean, that Portugal game, it just perfectly encapsulates Dolmy's entire style. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't overly aggressive. He was just all about elegance and efficiency, just effortlessly dictating the flow of the game. I mean, the nickname the Maestro. That wasn't just for show.
Right, and that makes me think, though, wouldn't that quiet, kind of understated approach be a disadvantage, especially against a team like England, which is known for its physicality and a really strong midfield?
That's a really interesting point. You would think so, right? So what's fascinating is that Dolmy thrived, even against teams like England. The source material describes the England-Morocco match, which actually ended in a draw, and it highlights how Dolmy just strategically positioned himself to completely neutralize England's entire midfield. He was like a phantom out there, just anticipating every move, shutting down attacks before they even had a chance to develop.
I bet that was frustrating for England's players, going up against someone who's always one step ahead, but never even seems to break a sweat. How did he even manage that? Was it just pure instinct? Or was there something more?
Well, natural talent definitely played a role. But what set Dolmy apart was his exceptional understanding of the game. He wasn't just out there reacting to things. He was reading the play, anticipating his opponent's moves, and then positioning himself perfectly to control the entire space. It was like he was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers out there.
So it wasn't about, physical strength or even speed. It was all about outsmarting your opponent. That's incredible. And speaking of intelligence, let's talk about Dolmy's leadership for a second. The script really emphasizes that he wasn't a loud vocal captain. His style was much more subtle, right?
Exactly. Dolmy's leadership was all about actions, not words. His discipline, work ethic, and the way he just commanded the entire game. Through his actions, that's what inspired his teammates. It wasn't about barking orders or yelling. It was about setting the standard and leading by example.
Okay, I can see that. But wouldn't that approach be less effective? In a really high-pressure environment like the World Cup, wouldn't the team need a more vocal leader? Someone to rally the troops.
That's a great question. And, you'd think that a more vocal, fiery personality would be needed in that kind of situation. But Dolmy proved that quiet leadership can be just as, if not more, impactful.
So how did that actually translate onto the field during, those crucial World Cup matches?
Yeah.
Can you give us a specific example where Dolmy's leadership was really evident, even without him being the loudest voice out there?
Yeah. So, take for example the match against Portugal. Morocco was under immense pressure, facing a team known for its attacking prowess. And the source material highlights how, during a crucial moment in the game, Dolmy gathered his teammates for this brief, quiet huddle. He wasn't out there yelling or giving some big motivational speech. Instead, he just calmly pointed out a weakness in Portugal's defense and suggested a small tactical adjustment. And the result? Morocco scores the winning goal shortly after, directly from the play that Dolmy had just outlined.
Wow, that's incredible. So he was a leader in every sense of the word, influencing the game through his actions, his strategy, and his ability to inspire his team, even in the most intense moments.
Absolutely. Dolmy's leadership style, it was a testament to the power of leading by example,
Yeah.
of quiet confidence, and just understanding the game at such a high level that allowed him to guide his team to success, even when they were facing, immense pressure.
And that brings us to a point that I'm really curious about. The script mentions that Dolmy's impact, it wasn't limited to just the World Cup. He actually played most of his career with Raja Casablanca, becoming a club legend. What made him stick with one club for so long?
Well, Dolmy's loyalty to Raja Casablanca, it was remarkable, especially in an era where, player transfers were becoming increasingly common. He truly embodied the spirit of the club, becoming a symbol of dedication and commitment.
So it wasn't just about his talent then. It was about something much deeper, like a connection to the club and the city.
You got it. Dolmy's story with Raja Casablanca, it goes beyond just football. It's about loyalty, representing an entire community, and becoming an icon for a city that truly embraced him as one of their own.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it just adds another layer to Dolmy's whole legacy.
Right.
He wasn't just a phenomenal player, but he was a symbol of something much bigger, something that resonated with the fans and the entire city.
Exactly. Dolmy's impact on Moroccan football, and on Raja Casablanca specifically, went beyond just trophies and accolades. He embodied a spirit, a style, and a connection to the community that continues to inspire people even today.
All right, so before we dive even deeper into Dolmy's legacy, let's take a quick second to appreciate what we've uncovered so far. This maestro wasn't just about fancy footwork. His game was about vision, strategy, and a quiet leadership. That left a lasting impact on all of Moroccan football. We were just talking about Dolmy's time with Raja Casablanca and how he became such a symbol for the club. But I'm kind of curious, did his playing style actually influence the way Raja Casablanca played as a team?
Oh, absolutely. Dolmy's arrival at Raja Casablanca, it really marked a huge shift in the club's entire playing philosophy, before him. The focus was often on individual brilliance. Players were just trying to win games through these solo efforts. But Dolmy, with his emphasis on teamwork and tactical discipline, he totally changed that.
So he was more than just a talented player. He was like a catalyst for change in the team's whole approach to the game.
Yeah, exactly. His arrival, it ushered in this whole new era of what the source material calls collective football. Dolmy's teammates, they started to understand the importance of positioning, passing, moving as a unit, rather than just relying on those individual heroics.
That's pretty remarkable. It's like he brought a whole new way of thinking to the club, and it completely transformed the way they played. But did this tactical shift actually translate into success on the field? Did Raja Casablanca start winning more games, more trophies?
The results speak for themselves. The script highlights how. During Dolmy's time with Raja Casablanca, the club experienced this period of just unprecedented success, winning multiple league titles. They even reached the final of the African Champions League.
Wow, that is impressive. So it wasn't just about style points. It was about winning. And Dolmy was right there at the heart of it all. I'm really starting to see why he's considered such a legend, both for the national team and for his club.
Yeah, and, his influence wasn't just limited to the professional level either. The source material mentions how all these young players, all these aspiring midfielders, they would flock to Raja Casablanca's youth academy, just hoping to learn from Dolmy. They wanted to be just like him, emulate his style, his vision, just his understanding of the game.
It's almost like he created a whole generation of mini maestros with his whole approach to the game.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Dolmy's legacy, it extended far beyond his playing days, inspiring a whole new wave of Moroccan footballers who valued intelligence and teamwork just as much as individual skill.
That's incredible. Earlier we were talking about Dolmy's performance against England in the '86 World Cup, how he just seemed to be everywhere at once, shutting down attacks before they even started. It almost sounded supernatural. I'm kind of curious, how did his tactical awareness and positioning actually work in practice? Can you kind of break that down for us?
Sure. So imagine you've got a football pitch. It's like a giant chessboard. And Dolmy's brilliance was his ability to read the game like a grandmaster, anticipating every move that his opponents would make, and then positioning himself accordingly.
Okay, I'm trying to picture it. So how did that actually translate into specific actions on the field?
Well, the source material describes this one specific moment during the England match, where Dolmy completely neutralized one of England's most dangerous players, Glenn Hoddle.
Oh, wow. Hoddle was known for his incredible passing range and his creativity. How did Dolmy manage to shut him down?
So instead of man-marking Hoddle, Dolmy actually focused on controlling the space. where Hoddle liked to operate. He anticipated Hoddle's runs, cut off his passing lanes, and basically faced Hoddle to play in areas where he was much less effective.
So it was about being proactive,
Yeah.
dictating the terms of engagement, instead of just reacting to what the opponent was doing.
Exactly. Dolmy didn't just sit back and wait for Hoddle to make a move. He would anticipate what Hoddle wanted to do and then just take away his options before he could even attempt them.
That's amazing. It really sounds like he was playing a totally different game. One where his mind was just as important as his feet.
Precisely. Dolmy's brilliance, it really lay in his ability to combine his physical skill with mental acuity, creating a style of play that was both beautiful to watch and incredibly effective.
This whole conversation, it's making me realize that there was so much more to Dolmy's game than what meets the eye. He was a true master of his craft, both physically and mentally.
And that's what makes his story so compelling. It challenges us to think beyond the obvious, to really appreciate the nuances of the game, and to recognize that true greatness, it often lies in the subtle details, the quiet brilliance, the mastery of the unseen.
I'm hooked. Before we wrap up this deep dive, there's one more question that's been nagging at me. You mentioned earlier how Dolmy's style influenced a whole generation of Moroccan footballers. But how did his legacy actually extend beyond his playing days and even beyond Morocco?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Dolmy's impact. It reached far beyond the borders of Morocco. He became the symbol of African football, demonstrating that tactical intelligence and elegance could be just as effective as the more physical, power-based styles that were often associated with European football at the time.
So he was challenging stereotypes, proving that there's more than one way to excel in football.
Absolutely. Dolmy's success, it really helped pave the way for other African footballers to showcase their skills on the world stage, inspiring future generations to embrace their own unique styles and approaches to the game.
Wow. That is an incredible legacy. It's inspiring to think that one player could have such a profound impact, not just on his team or his country, but on the global perception of an entire continent's footballing talent. It really is amazing to think about how one player can leave, such a lasting mark on football.
We've been exploring Dolmy's impact on his club, Raja Casablanca, on Moroccan football as a whole, and even on the global perception of African football. But I'm curious, what about the man himself? What drove him? What were his values? And how did that actually translate into his leadership style?
You know Dolmy. He was known for his humility and his just unwavering commitment to teamwork. He really believed that success was a collective effort, and he led by example, inspiring his teammates through his dedication, his work ethic, and his deep understanding of the game. So it wasn't about being the loudest voice in the room or demanding attention. It was about earning respect through his actions and setting the standard for others to follow.
Exactly. The source material. It actually describes a story from one of Dolmy's former teammates, who recalled how Dolmy would often stay after training to help younger players improve their skills. And he wouldn't just offer advice, he'd actually get down on the pitch himself and demonstrate techniques, sharing his knowledge and experience with this genuine passion.
That's a really powerful image. It shows that his commitment to the team went way beyond just winning games. It was about nurturing the next generation of players and passing on his love for the game.
Yeah, and that's what made his leadership so impactful. It wasn't just about, tactics and strategy. It was about building a culture of respect, hard work, and collective responsibility.
It makes you wonder if that kind of leadership could be applied beyond just football, in other areas of life as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think Dolmy's story, it offers some really valuable lessons for anyone in a leadership position, whether it's in business, politics, or even in our personal lives. It highlights the importance of leading by example, empowering others, and focusing on the collective good rather than individual glory.
So if we try to distill what we've learned today from this deep dive into Dolmy's career, what would be the key takeaways?
I think Dolmy's story, it really challenges our assumptions about what it means to be a leader, to be a great player, and to be a true icon. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, but he possessed this kind of understated brilliance that shaped Moroccan football and inspired generations of players.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that true greatness, it doesn't always have to come with, fanfare, and that sometimes
the quietest voices can have the most profound impact. And for our listeners today, I think the most important takeaway is to consider how Dolmy's principles of humility, dedication, and teamwork can be applied to our own lives. How can we be more like the maestro in our own pursuits, whether it's in our careers, our relationships, or our contributions to our communities?
That is a fantastic question to leave our listeners with today. It really encourages all of us to think beyond the football pitch and apply Dolmy's values to our own lives, striving for excellence, leading by example, and focusing on the collective good. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the remarkable life and career of Abdelmajid Dolmy, Morocco's midfield maestro. We hope you enjoyed the journey and that you were as inspired by the story of the maestro as we were.